We are not doctors. This podcast is not medical advice. These are the personal experiences of the host and guests. Your experiences may differ. The host and guests of this podcast will be discussing difficult topics that include death, dying, trauma, and emotional distress. It is intended for mature audiences.
The Martial Heart Podcast.
And hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Martial Heart Podcast. And I am your host, Ross. So we're on day 16 post heart attack. And there are a few things that you will be told after you've had a heart attack and had a treatment, whatever your surgery was going to be. And one of those things is going to be that you're going to have ups and downs, you're going to have good days, and you're going to have bad days. And you just have to accept that. And so that's kind of where I am currently. I think probably for the last 16 or 18 hours, it's kind of just been a downer for me. I don't know if it's because I'm starting to get depressed because of the situation that I can't do anything, and I don't know how healthy I am at this point. I don't know what the risks are at this point. Everything's still sort of in limbo. Or it's just part of the natural process of going up and down. I'm not really sure. So I'm just accepting it and dealing with it. But I can say probably since about 3 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, it's just been kind of a shit mood. Didn't really want to do anything. Felt listless and unmotivated. But that's where we are. I'm still up and around and doing this morning, so obviously I'm not completely unmotivated, but it's, rough here and there. I have noticed some good things, which I try to focus on those, I guess. They say think positive. The heart surgeon, after telling me that they could not do open heart surgery, told me to stay positive, which generally is not a good thing to hear. It usually means you're really going to have to work to stay positive in your situation. But anyway, I took him at his word, and I'm trying to stay positive. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's easy. I've never been one of those people who was constantly a ray of sunshine or anything like that. I've been a skeptic and a pessimist my entire life, and that hasn't changed since having a heart attack. So I don't trust what people say. I don't believe what people say, except for the parts where they tell me are bad, and those things I'll believe. But when they say it's going to be fine, everything's perfect, I'm like, I don't think so. It obviously can't be, or you wouldn't be talking to me so nicely like that. You think I'm going to die. So it's, anyway. But I can go up and down the stairs in my house, and they give you a guideline. They say basically you can do things as long as it doesn't cause you to have chest pain, shortness of breath, or dizziness. So I can go up and down the stairs in my house perfectly fine. And I've been doing it several times a day and not really noticing that, hey, that's a thing I can do already. So I'm not completely debilitated. I just was ignoring the fact that I go up and down the stairs all the time because on a normal day I go up and down the stairs. So I haven't been thinking of that in the sense of, wow, I just had a heart attack. I just came out of the hospital and I'm just going up and down the stairs. Everything's fine with climbing stairs. So that's kind of a positive thing I'm looking at today. I can move around and do things and it doesn't, try to murder me with my own heart. But that's kind of the guideline they give you, is that if you can do it and it doesn't cause you chest pain or shortness of breath or dizziness, then it's generally okay for you to continue with that thing. But I have cardiac rehab scheduled now. It's starting on the 11th. So I have the cardiologist appointment on the 10th. And then my cardiac rehab will begin on the 11th. They've told me that there's not going to be a whole lot involved on the 11th other than going over the case, filling out a lot of paperwork and trying to give me an idea of what the rehab is going to be like. They'll have to put together a plan and a program for me. It's going to be 3 days a week, I think they said. So the first day, they told me to expect about an hour and a half of meeting with the rehab specialists. But the only physical thing I'm going to do on that day is going to be a 6-minute treadmill walk, I guess, sort of like a stress test, or to see what your fitness level is, if you can do that easily or not. I'm assuming that won't be an issue. Walking has never really been an issue, so hopefully I'll get through that and they'll be able to put together a good plan and we can start strengthening the heart, I think. This is another bad thing, is I have a really bad memory, so if I don't write it down at the time, I'll forget it. But I'm pretty sure they said it was going to take 12 weeks. So 10 to 12, maybe, she said. 10 to 12 weeks of cardiac therapy to get my heart back in order and back in shape. So that's what I'm looking at starting here in a couple of weeks, I guess, because I am set to try to go back to work next week. And yes, it would be light duty stuff. I have mixed feelings about it. So does everyone else, believe it or not. The nurse practitioner at the doctor's office was kind of, are you sure you really think you should be going back to work yet? And anyway, she said that, it's up to me if I felt up to it or not. But I need to be open to the idea that I might think I'm ready to go back, and then after a day of work realizing that I was not ready to go back to work. So I'm still in that place where I don't know what to do. I'm trying to keep my employer informed of what's going on, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back to work next week. I really don't. With the day-to-day sort of feeling and, of the condition itself, it's day-to-day. Some days you feel a little better. Some days you don't feel any better. It's really hard to say. And the number one fear, I guess, is driving. I drive a lot. I put a lot of miles on my company vehicle. And if I am having dizzy spells and fainting spells still, that's, of course, a no-go. So I have to make sure that I'm actually okay to drive before I decide to go back to work, because it's a 45-minute drive just for me to get to work. So it's dangerous if I'm still having some lightheadedness or, dizzy spells. We have to sort of make sure that part of it is okay before I even try to go back to work. And that's not even counting any of the physical activity that I may or may not have to get involved in on the job. So we just don't know. And I'm going to try to talk to the cardiologist and the doctor again prior to my next appointment, because my next appointment is after I wanted to go back to work. But I think no one wanted me to go back to work until after I have my follow-up with the cardiologist, so that he can kind of sign off on, hey, okay, we think you're healthy enough that you can return to work. Because I may not be, and I may not be willing to accept that I'm not, but the professionals and the heart specialists might, have a better idea of what kind of condition I'm in, if I'm ready to, start doing those things. So I'm going to probably try to have a consult with them prior to next week, so that I can get some better guidance on, am I trying to, return to my normal life too fast? Or am I not pushing myself enough? Am I, I need to know these things. And there's really very limited communication. Once you get out of the hospital, you have your follow-up with your physician, your personal doctor, and then you wait for other appointments. And in between, there's not a whole lot. There's no communication, basically. They're like, here, go home. Here's a booklet that may or may not have accurate information in it. here's the new medications you need to take every day or you may die. And, well, hopefully your cardiologist and your rehab people can get in touch with you soon enough. But none of it is telling you how healthy you are or how ready you are to get back into normal activities. So it's frustrating. And I don't think there's any other way to express it other than it's just frustrating. And, draining. Emotionally and mentally. And this is something else that the nurse practitioner who's, she does cardiology things. Something that she mentioned during our appointment was, physical readiness is one thing. What about mental and emotional readiness? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, you went through a traumatic event. So are you mentally and emotionally prepared to try to go back to having a normal life and going to work every day and doing it? And I'm like, I don't know. You guys are the doctors. So someone needs to kind of help me figure that out. But I'm no stranger to trauma. This is not actually my first brush with death. So I don't know how it's actually going to affect me as far as mentally and emotionally, other than the mental and emotional anguish of not knowing, being kind of in the dark and being unsure of yourself and not having that black and white definitive answer that I always look for all the time. I want a yes or no. And it's really a whole lot more gray area than that. But that's where we are today on the 16th day post-heart attack. And I will keep you posted. I'm probably going to do an episode every day for a while. These are only going to be 15-minute episodes. First of all, because talking this much at one time makes me get out of breath. But also, this is a free service I'm using, and it tops out at 15 minutes for your podcasts. So if people like it and they want me to keep doing it, I can pay for the service, and then, I don't know, I think you can do 2 or 3 hours at a time, which I would not do. Joe Rogan, I am not, and I can't talk to someone who is not very interesting for a full 3 hours and still get people to listen to it. But, maybe an hour, maybe a half hour, and slowly increase. But long term, yeah, this is about having a heart attack, and it's about trying to get back to your favorite activities like martial arts or jiu-jitsu or running or whatever it is that you like to do, playing golf. But, we'll talk about other things too, because obviously I have other interests, and I'm not going to do a every day talking about, wow, my heart attack. That's going to be a downer after a while, but everyone knows that I have a thing about debunking conspiracy theories. So I'm sure long-term there's going to be some of that too, and probably talking about military stuff and maybe how inaccurate movies are, things, good movies, bad movies, who knows. But I'm definitely going to get some of my friends and acquaintances on here who've had similar experiences with their health and their fitness regimen so that we can get other people's perspectives too. I don't want it to just be me talking every day for 15 or 30 minutes. That's not fun. People are going to lose interest in that, including me. I'll be one of those people who will lose interest in it. But anyhow, that's where we are. That's today. That's episode 3. And stay tuned for episode 4, whether that's later today or tomorrow morning or next week. Who knows? But it'll be sooner rather than later. And this is going to be the outgoing music. I don't know. I have other options that I'm working on right now as far as introductions and, the exit stuff. Thank you, Fiverr. For $5 or $10, you can have a teenager in Pakistan make all sorts of wonderful things for you and get it to you in 24 or 48 hours. So we'll see what they come up with. I have several things going on right now with this. But until next time, we'll take care.